Hare Krishna, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our weekly Sunday program. Thanks to all of you who've been joining us regularly. I see some new names. We welcome all of you. As you all know, we've been continuing to do virtual programs every Sunday, as well as virtual festivities over the last few months, and little close to 2 years now since we've been doing virtual events. We would like to welcome all of you, especially for those of you joining us on Facebook. There is a link to join us on Zoom. If you'd like to participate and interact in today's session, we do encourage you to join us. So without further ado, we'll get started. As you all know, the next upcoming festival is Gaur Purnima. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had Nityananda Trayodashi, also known as the appearance of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So we are midway between these two wonderful festivals, and especially Gaur Purnima is a really important festivities and celebration in the Vaishnava calendar. Everyone knows about Janmashtami. You know, it's a world famous festival, but for all devotees and Vaishnava especially, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really of prominent and of huge significance. So for that reason, today's session is completely dedicated in knowing more about this upcoming festival, Gaur Purnima, also known as the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As you all know, the topic is teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and our speaker for today is Anand Gaurang Prabhu. For those of you who know Anand Gaurang Prabhu, he's started a new phase. He speaks regularly across various centers for the GTA, but especially Toronto, Scarborough. He's been practicing Krishna consciousness for a couple of decades now, and he's got a pretty busy schedule from what I know. He travels extensively around the world, be it Japan, Mexico, wherever. In fact, when I reached out to Prabhu, he was at a work conference. So I'm so glad he agreed to do this. In addition to Prabhu's in-depth presentations, he also does a lot of havans, as you all know, be it anywhere across Canada and probably outside of that too. So we're really grateful that Anand Gaurang Prabhu could be with us. Thank you so much, Anand Gaurang Prabhu, for joining us. Today's session, as we said, is going to be teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But in specific, there is so much we can speak on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is the entire book of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Like there's different books which we can learn from. But today we're going to focus on some of the essence of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, particularly around the roots of truth, around the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition and the practice of Vaishnavism. So without further ado, we'll pass it over to Anand Gaurang Prabhu, and we encourage everyone to attentively listen and participate by asking questions or posting any comments, and we'll try to take them, take up questions towards the end. So over to you, Anand Gaurang Prabhu. Thank you so much once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So thank you so much, Prabhu. So March 17th, which is Thursday, coming Thursday, it's Gaura Purnima, where we'll be fasting until moonrise. And Purnima means it's full moon. And day is called Tithi, as well as the fortnight is called as Paksha. And we have different Tithis, about 16 different Tithis are there every month. And then each one has got different names. So Purnima is one of the Tithi. And I think you mentioned about Janmashtami. Ashtami means that's the 8th day. So that's a Tithi as well. So we know Janmashtami, we know Bahulashtami, which we celebrate during the month of Kartik. And then we have Rama Navami, which is the 9th day. So that's Rama Navami. And then we have Nityananda Trayodasi, which is the 13th day. And then we have Narsimha Chaturdasi, like that 14th day, like that. So these are different names that are given. So what we are all waiting to celebrate in a grand manner is on Thursday, which is 17th of March, which is Gaura Purnima. So we'd like to thank all of you who have given us your valuable time to join today's presentation. So the topic is teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is just a nice summary slide. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enacted his earthly pastimes for a total of 48 years only on this planet Earth. So up to 24 years, he was an householder, and that is nicely captured in many, many scriptures about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adi Leela. And then what you see in the green box there is the second half of his earthly pastime, which was the sannyasi life from 24 years to 48 years. And within that itself, 24 to 30 years, he traveled and preached extensively. We covered this in one of the classes, I think in last year's Gaura Purnima, where we covered how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to all the South Indian temples and to other parts of India as well. And from 30 to 48 years, he spent most of his time in Jagannath Puri, and that's captured in Antyalila. And Madhya Leela captured is 24 to 30 years activity. And within the 30 to 48 years, the first half of that, he had a lot of association with devotees who used to travel from Mayapur to Jagannath Puri. And in the last few years, he was in transcendental, you can say, madness or bliss in Jagannath Puri itself. So teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is found within the three scriptures that we are all used to, which we extensively study in ISKCON, Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya, Bhagavad Gita, which is the foundational study, very small scripture, as you know. It's part of Mahabharata, 700 verses, and it's words of Krishna, and it contains the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a graduate study, so it's the next level up, and it contains thousands of verses, in fact, 18,000 verses. And it describes not only the activities of Lord Krishna, but also activities of other incarnations of Lord Krishna, activities of other wonderful devotees of Lord Krishna. It also has what to do and what not to do, because based on the pastimes of great personalities, we know some of the mistakes that they make, like Indra. So it is also teaching us through their activities. So it contains the content and pastimes of various other devotees and expansions of Krishna as well. But the focus of today is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is basically in biographies that are written by great devotees, and one is Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Srila Prabhupada taught us that this is the postgraduate studies. So which means it's a step up from even Srimad Bhagavatam. Sometimes when we read that, we may not realize that, but today I'm pretty sure you will realize why it is referred to as postgraduate study. And it deals with the mind of Krishna and the process and practice of devotional service is described very nicely here. So hopefully all of you can see the screen. Anjaneya Prabhu, you can see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So I just wanted to briefly introduce today's topic and presentation. So Chaitanya Charitamrita as descriptions about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his pastimes, and his teaching. So that is why it's referred to as postgraduate studies. And as you're all used to, generally, we give beautiful pastimes from activities of the Lord, either Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna. So it'll connect us directly with the deeper philosophy to understand these esoteric subjects, right? But today we will cover some of these deeper subjects, not necessarily through pastimes, okay? So just wanted to put that out. So this is the quintessence or the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. So sometimes we know, as we were all graduating, we know that there are some deeper subjects like thermodynamics and calculus and many, many more. So today, we would kindly request you to pay your attention to these deeper subjects, because we need to get into subjects like this once in a while. And it's very important that this is a precursor or setting the stage up for the grand celebration, which is coming up on Thursday. We will understand this through PowerPoint presentation. That's why I want to make sure, because it's easier to talk, and give a class, but it takes more time to put a PowerPoint presentation, contents of it collecting from various sources. But I thought it'll be much better for us to understand these deeper subjects, because we are using not just our ears, but we'll use our eyes. You can use your sense of touch by taking notes with your pen. You can also chant some of these verses as you see, And some of you feel if you want to take some pictures with your camera for something that you see on the screen, feel free to take some pictures, because it's easier that way rather than trying to search the needle in the haystack. In a way, we have so many verses in Veda base, for example, so it might take more time for you to detect that particular verse. So here, this is a beautiful statement from Bhanu Swami. He's one of His Holiness Bhanu Swami. So he is giving this instruction to us where he is confirming the teachings of Mahaprabhu are it's a very confidential science. So it needs proper concentration. If you don't apply proper concentration, and if you don't have faith, we will not be able to understand these subjects, right? So typically what we do is we before we go to sleep, they will read a book, and then they'll go to sleep, right? After eating, read a book and go to sleep. But that's not how we will be able to understand these esoteric confidential signs of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's instructing us, give up that bad habit of just reading it superficially and attentively study this with faith and concentration. And that's what we want you to give yourself as well this chance, so that we can all understand this. So now the question is, where do we start? Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where do we start? As you saw, just in one book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are 11,555 verses. As you know, Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. So just imagine the volume of work in Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita. Within that, we have instructions to Rupa Goswami, instructions to Sanatan Goswami, instructions to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Of course, the Sikshashtaka prayers are there, and the beautiful conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, and many, many more. So what can we cover in this 45, 50 minutes or so? And there are other biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya by Murari Gupta, many, many more. Chaitanya Mangal by Lochan Das Thakur. So where do we start? So what are the teachings? How can we have a framework? So there is good news for all of us. So there is something called as Dasa Mula Tattva, which translates to 10 roots of truth. So I put this picture here, which is a nice picture, which is almost, you can say 10 roots are there of Krishna consciousness or Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So here, these 10 esoteric truths, they were mined, it's like mining from the fertile fields of Vedic Shastra by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who's non-different from Lord Krishna. And they eloquently contain the whole gamut of Vedic literature, so Vedic knowledge. So this 10 points or bullet points, which we have expanded a little bit more, if we go through that, then we can be confident that the essence from every scripture, especially anything Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us, is included in these 10 bullet points. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually captured this in his eye-yielding pen, the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching, just in this nice, beautiful 10 second point here, right? So, and within that 75th verse, there are 104 verses in this Chaitanya Smarana, Leela Smarana Mangala Stotra, 104 verses. So I'd like to offer my gratitude to His Grace Dravid Prabhu, who's recorded all the 104 verses. And probably 18 years ago, he asked few of us to memorize this particular sloka number 75, which we'll read, and that is called as the Dasa Mula Tattva sloka. This is from the Gauranga Leela Smarana Mangala Stotram. So it's almost like a hidden gem within a book, within that book, there are 104 verses, and within the 104 verses, there is a 75th verse, and that contains the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. So that's what we are going to see what it is. And for those of you who are very familiar with Veda base, you may have Veda base in your houses, in computers or laptops. So if you go to writings of past acharyas, and then if you go to writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and you will see this Dasa Mula Tattva there. So everything that you need to know are here, and many other devotees have also provided commentary, especially His Holiness Bhanu Swami has come up with a very beautiful book to explain this Dasa Mula Tattva as well. So what I have put together today is just an extraction of the commentaries from various acharyas, so that we get this picture of what is the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the 10 roots of truth, as I mentioned, this is coming from a book very significant because this is a book called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Life and Precept. Now, this particular book, precept means it's a command, or you can say it's a principle, right? Was sent to McGill University from India in the year 1896. And what happened in this year? That's the actual birth year of Srila Prabhupada. So very it's a beautiful coincidence for us. The year that Srila Prabhupada appeared, in the same year, this book, the English translation, was sent by Bhaktivinoda Thakur to McGill University. And where is this McGill University? Montreal, not far from us. And it contains, within that book, it contains this Gaurangas Leelas Marana Mangala Stotram, 104 verses. And this is the 75th verse. And that's what we are going to review today. So that's the actual book. And that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur right there. So these are referred to as 10 pillars of the temple of Vedic truth. And it summarizes the length and breadth of the Vedic knowledge in this. It fully unpacks them in this tiny verse, in this tiny sort of 75th verse. But I mean, we will not be able to go through the length and breadth of each one of those points, but we'll cover as much as we can in today's session. This is an expansion. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually expanded the work of Baladev Vidyabhushan, as well as a couple of other great acharyas in your Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, including Srinath Chakravarti, who's the guru of Kavi Karnapur. So it's been made fine-tuned, and that's what we have right now. And there is a benefit of studying this Dasa Mula Tattva. So it is said by Bhaktivinoda Vinod Thakur himself. He says, one who studies and carefully follows the Dasa Mula casts away the material disease of ignorance. Then through the association of saintly devotees, he obtains the soul nourishing ecstasy of love for Krishna and becomes fully satisfied. So we all have this problem. We're not satisfied. He said that if we fully understand this, we will be satisfied. So a little bit about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's referred to as Seventh Goswami. He's the father of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who's the spiritual master of ISKCON founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And he studied under the British education system, and he was an expert in English. So, and also he served as a magistrate under the British rule, and he was a householder. So householder means like each one of us, he was performing his material duties and spiritual duties, but all his material duties were dovetailed into spiritual activities. And he's the one who actually discovered the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is Yogapith. Many of us remember that. We've been there many times. And he penned down several books. And famous book is Harinam Chintamani and many, many more. And also many, many bhajans, right? So before every class, we sing Jaya Radha Madhava. That was penned down by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Jeev Jago, wake up sleeping soul, and Sarira Avidya Jal. So before we honor Prasadam, we chant. That is penned down by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Gaura Arti Ki Bajayo, that is penned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and many, many more as well. Vibha Verisesha, etc. So that's a little bit about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Before we actually get into this hidden gems, the 10 pillars of the roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. These were gleaned. Gleaned means extracted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the meter of this, as I said, memorized many, many years ago, and many of us know this, it's a very special meter. It's called Shraddhara meter. That means wearing a garland. It's supposed to be the longest lyrical meter in Sanskrit poetry. So that's the verse that we are going to dive deeper into today. Amnaya prahatatvam arimiha paramam sarva shaktim rasabdehim tad binam samsa jivam prakriti kalivitam tad vimuktam chapavat veda veda prakasam sakalam api hari sadhanam suddha bhaktim sadhyam tad priti meveti upadishiyati harir gaura chandro bhajetam. So that's the gems that are actually hidden within a cave, we can say. It's a hidden gem, 75th verse out of 104 verses from the book that was sent in 1896 from India to McGill University. So we have a personal connection because we are in Canada, and this book was sent on the birth year of Srila Prabhupada to McGill University in Montreal. So these are this is the 10 pillars, right? 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. It's pretty busy slide, but again, we are going to repeat this a few times so we will get that. And again, nothing new. It's not like, wow, this is something that is too complex. No, this is something that we know. It's just condensed and put together in a nice garland of verses, right? So the first one is the absolute truth can only be known through the Vedic literature. So that's the source. That's it. So it's not like somebody told me who's God, somebody is my late grandmother told me. No, the absolute truth can be known only through the Vedic literature. Number two, Krishna is the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. That is what we get from the Vedic literature. The third, Lord Krishna possesses infinite and varied potencies, and we'll see what it's that. Number four, is an ocean of bliss or rasa, relishable loving exchanges with his devotees. Fifth is every soul is Krishna's minute separated part. Sixth is certain souls are swallowed up by Krishna's illusory external energy, getting into all the intoxication and everything. That's number six. Number seven is certain souls are released from the grasp of Krishna's illusory external energy. Eight is the famous Achintya Beda Tattva that was introduced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we all know. That means all spiritual and material phenomena are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. And ninth is devotional service to Krishna is the only means of attaining the goal of life. And that's what is given to us in ISKCON through Founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the 9 forms of devotional service. And the last one is pure love of Krishna is alone the goal of life. So this in essence is the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and all our acharyas. So there are several books. There is a book that is called as Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well, but all the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will fit into either one of these 10 categories, you can say. So if we know this, then we know the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So 2 points here. One is pramana. Pramana means source of knowledge. We already said the source of knowledge is not my neighbor, is not some material author. The source of knowledge is the Vedic literature, Vedas and the expansion of the Vedas. That is the source of knowledge, and it's called as pramana. And objects of knowledge is what we get to know from the book, right? So if you're reading about Harry Potter book, what we get from that is the movie and everything else that you see. But what is the source is that book by Roland, right? So here the source of knowledge, which is the Vedas, it's referred to as pramana, and objects of knowledge is prameya. So I just put them in various categories. I don't want to go too deep into it, but again, the source of knowledge is the Vedas, and everything else, the remaining 9 points are objects of knowledge. We get to know about everything else below point number 1 is from the first point, which is from the Vedic literature. And also, it's an important, terminology or important terminologies that we need to know. What is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana? So many of you know this, and this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I put references as much as possible so that you can always take a picture or make some notes and you can go deeper into it. These are very important topics. So Sambandha means, I've tried to simplify it as much as possible. Knowledge of the relationship with God is Sambandha. Abhideya means acting according to that relationship, right? So once you know, okay, God, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I'm the eternal servant. Okay, then what? Then what do I need to do? I have to perform devotional service to get connected with the Lord. That is Abhideya. And third is Prayojana is, okay, if I act in this way, then what is in it for me? We know the radio station, right? WIIFM, FM station you have. So WIIFM is what's in it for me? Materially, we ask, right? Okay, manager, you want me to do this? What do I get, right? So what's in it for us is when we perform the devotional service, knowing the relationship with God, then the ultimate aim of life is to have that love of God, and as a result, going back home, back to Godhead. So that is the definition. So to understand this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself gave a parable, right? So he said there was this son of a rich man who was very, very dejected. And then the astrologer went to him and he said, do you know that your father has left you so much riches somewhere? So that was the connection, right? That's the Krishna consciousness. That is the sambandha. The connection was established. And acting according to the relationship, he's giving the process, right? So he said, he's left the wealth in this place and he died elsewhere. And the Abhideya means to get the treasure. You go to the southern side of where this treasure is, there is wasp and drone that will come and you will die. If you go to the west section and start digging, you will get a ghost. Then if you go to the northern side, you get a black snake and it'll kill you. But if you go to the eastern side, then you'll be able to get this huge pot of gold. So that's the Abhideya. And this is example that is provided by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prayojana is that how you get the great treasure. So that's the connection between getting the relationship, then acting to that relationship, and then the result of acting in that relationship is the Prayojana. So, and another example Prabhupada gives in this Madhya Leela in one of the lectures is that, simply put, there is a supplier, vendor, you can say. There is a vendor and then there is a manufacturer. So they get to know their relationship, the knowledge of the relationship. Okay, you will supply these raw materials for me and I'll manufacture the products, right? So it's like resistors and capacitors are given by one company like Motorola to Apple to manufacture iPhones, right? So then you act according to the relationship. That is the Abhideya. Then they start manufacturing and the result is producing the iPhones and making profit. And I'm just giving a material example, but that exact material example between the vendor and the manufacturer is given by Srila Prabhupada. So why we brought this up is that, again, these 10 points can be put in these buckets, right? So first is proof or evidence, this Vedas, but then the relationship is point number 2, which is Lord is the Supreme Lord, and then he possesses all energies, he's the ocean of bliss, and every soul, and the connection between soul and the super soul is there, the relationship is there. And the 9th point is the activities. And what is the activity? Is the devotional service. And the last one is the ultimate goal, which is the pure love of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal. So I'm just bringing in various sort of angles to these 10 points before we get into each one of those points. So here, the relationship between the Lord and the Jiva, right? So between us and the Lord. So first is proof, but the next 3 points are supremacy of Lord Krishna, because he's the supreme truth, he possesses all energy, and he's the ocean of rasa, etc. And then 5, 6, and 7. So the rest of the points are position of jivas, right? So we are minute separated parts of Krishna, and some of us are bound, and some of the jivas are liberated. But the relationship between Jiva and the Lord is Achintya Bheda Tattva, simultaneously one and different. So, ours in the form of a soul, we are eternal, full of bliss, etc. But we are infinitesimal, and the Lord is infinite. So Lord is infinite and we are infinitesimal. So we'll get to that in the next minute or so. And then the activity of Jiva is devotional service, and pure love of God is the goal of these activities. So just wanted to bring this from various contexts, various angles before we get into each one of them quickly. Is that okay, Anjaneya Prabhu, so far? Able to hear me? And okay.
Yes, thank you. Please.
Okay. So the first point is the absolute truth can be known only through the Vedic literature. So Vedas. So human beings, as we said, I can't get the absolute truth from somebody, because human beings have got imperfect senses. We make mistakes, we become illusion, and we have the tendency to cheat. So we get it from God. The original source is Vedas. And Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, it says, Lord himself imparted the Vedic knowledge to the heart of Brahma. So these Vedas are coming from Lord Krishna himself, and that's from the scripture. And Lord Krishna explains to Uddhava as well, and he's saying, I spoke the Vedic knowledge to Brahma because I myself am the religious principles enunciated in the Vedas. So how can there be any mistakes? So Krishna himself is given this Vedic knowledge to all of us to benefit from. So that's the source. The absolute truth can be known only from the Vedic scriptures or Vedic literature. Now the question is, Vedic literature means, is that only the 4 Vedas? What do we mean by Vedic literature? So Vedic scriptures or Vedic literatures means it's either the Vedas, which are the Shrutis, or the Smriti. So Vedas, we know Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, and then within that we have the Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. For those of you who are into this Yajna, we do a lot of these we pick these mantras from various Aranyakas as well as Brahmanas as well as Samhitas as well. So when you go, you get all these Purusha Sukta, Shri Sukta, Manyu Sukta, Devi Suktam, Divaspari hymn, as well as Vastu Sukta, Nashadiya, all of them are from various Vedic scriptures. And then you also have the Smriti. So all our Puranas are part of the Smriti. So we have 18 major Puranas, I just said minor Puranas, and we also have Upa Vedas, right? Additional or sub Vedas, you can say Ayurveda. It's about medicine. Then you have Dhanurveda, it's about warfare. Like that, you have many agamas as well. So these are all part of Vedic literature. And references in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam about the importance of Veda. So this is something that I put together this morning. I just pulled some of these verses. I'm not going to go and read each one of them, but we don't want to have an aversion to Vedas. When we hear the word Vedas, is that something different, right? So here Krishna himself says, of the Vedas, I'm Samaveda. Within Samaveda, I'm the Brihat Sama. And then among sacrifices, I am the Veda. Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping of wings. And we also read from Srimad Bhagavatam first canto that this one Veda was divided into 4 branches, 4 Vedas, and then Puranas and Mahabharata was penned down by Vyasadeva. And then also finally he said, when Narada Muni came and he said, you have to pen down the spiritual devotional activities, and that's what Srimad Bhagavatam is, which is the ripened fruit of Vedic literature. And it is said the Puranas are also 5th Veda. So the point that I'm trying to make here is Vedas, when we say the ultimate absolute truth can be known only through the Vedic literature, it's not just the Vedas, but also an extension of Vedic literature. And for us, it is Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. Okay, so 18 major Puranas here. I just took this from Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto, right? What are the 18 major Puranas? It's there in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And then we have the number of verses are also in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is 18,000. So just for your information, no need to get into the details. And then, so this is, we will not have time to go through it. I've again summarized what is there in each one of the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. But again, if you remember, Prachetas are in 4th canto, Narsimhadev pastime is in the 7th canto, Lord Ram 9th canto. So most of you know this, but it's always good to know what is there in each one of those cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. Having accepted, this is the second point, Arimiha Paramam, right? Lord Hari, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So now that we know, where do we get who is supreme? Not from any human being, but from the Vedic scripture. And here, what does it say? So this is a verse from Rig Veda. Usually Vedas don't directly point out, they give us indirect hints, right? So this is one way where we can pronounce the Vedic scriptures very nicely. So if somebody is interested, please let Anjaneya Prabhu know and we can get you these details, right? So Apashyan Gopamani Patyamanamacha Paraacha. So if you go like that, so it says, I saw a cowherd. He never falls from his position. Sometimes he's near and sometimes far, wandering on various paths. He's a friend decorated with variety of clothes. He comes again and again to the material world, right? So indirectly, there is a reference in this particular verse, And of course, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have this Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So he is the Supreme Krishna. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. And later on in the 2nd canto, Lord Krishna is saying, Brahma, it is I who existed before all the creation. So there was nothing but myself. And now after everything is destroyed, nothing will be except me. So that again confirms that Lord Hari, Krishna, is the supreme personality of Godhead. And I've extracted this various verses from Bhagavad Gita and Ishopanishad, as well as from Adi Lila, which confirms Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of God. Because this is the second point. We're trying to justify from the scriptures, because point number 1 is Vedic scriptures confirm who God is, right? Every truth. And here it is said, Lord Krishna is the absolute truth. And Krishna himself says, I am the source of manifestation and annihilation. Similar to what we saw in the previous slide. There is absolutely no truth superior to me. I am the father of the universe, mother and the support of grandson. I'm the source of all the devatas and sages as well. So all these verses in the scriptures confirm that Lord Hari or Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Even the Isha Upanishad, right? Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Very small. Usually Upanishads are very long. This is only 18 verses. And the very first one says, everything animate and inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by Lord. So Krishna is referred to as Asamordva. That means no one is equal or above him. Sama means equal, as you know, and Urdhva means greater. So there is A there. So that means nobody is equal or greater. That confirms point number 2, Arimiha Paramam, that you see right on top, Lord Hari or Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. The third point out of the 10 roots of this philosophy of or the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the third is the Lord possesses all varieties of inconceivable energy. So Lord has multiple energies, unlimited energies, but it is generally categorized into 3. Internal energy, which is the spiritual energy, and within that it's got 3 categories, Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladini. Marginal energy is all the jivas like us, and external energy is the Maya, you can call it, and the 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and also the 8 divisions: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Everything is, in the material world, you can say is earth, water, fire, right? So we say earth means not just stone and mountain and sand. Even in our body, the flesh is referred to as earth. Water, the blood and everything is watery. Fire is the stomach. Also, we have fire in our stomach. The air that we breathe. Ether is the space, mind, intelligence, false ego, etc. So these are the energies that the Lord possesses. And Krishna says that this divine energy of mind, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. This is in the 7th chapter. So the third point here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching confirms is that the Lord possesses all varieties of inconceivable energies. And this is a verse from Vishnu Puran. And here, who's the Lord? The Lord is the one who possesses the 6 opulences in full: all wealth, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation, right? So if we talk about all fame, okay, there is this great Wayne Gretzky, Sachin Tendulkar, they're all so famous. Yeah, for how long, right? So short period of time. All beauty, 1920 Miss World. Unfortunately, there is a short period of time. Now nobody knows about Miss World from 1920. All knowledge, somebody is very good in one topic, but not in all. Renunciation, so wealth, strength. Krishna is the ultimate. He possesses everything in full. So when we say Bhagavan, Bhaga means opulence and Van means possessor, right? Just like we say Dhanavan, Vidwan, Balavan, etc. Right? So this is a fine print again. Example, wealth. Krishna says Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So he's the control of all the planets and devatas. And even in material world, he had 16,108 palaces, right? Unbelievable palaces, right? So that's nothing. So it's not like he owns, so many palaces, one country or one planet, but everything in this material world belongs to him. So can anybody be more wealthier? That can be a CEO of Apple, but that is a very small, infinitesimal compared to infinite wealth of Lord. Killing, right? I'm not putting everything here. We can have hours of class on each one of those points. But the point here is killing of Putana, if you can think. God means it's not like he gets all the powers in due course of time as he grows up by meditation. No, he's God from birth itself, right? So he killed Putana right when he was few days old, right? And then lifting of Govardhan hill when he was seven years old. Fame, right? Bhagavad Gita. The fame of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's fame. Right? So how many millions of years this Bhagavad Gita is there? By the way, millions of years. And I did make a mistake because Bhagavad Gita was last spoken 5,000 odd years ago, but then it is spoken every day in the life of Brahma, and Brahma is 51 years old. If you do the multiplication, 365, it's over 18,000 times Bhagavad Gita is spoken, and he is 155 trillion years. Also, Bhagavad Gita has been spoken many, many times. And beauty, we talked about, Madan is Cupid, and he's referred to as Madan Mohan. Knowledge, he's saying 15.15, I am seated in everyone's heart, comes from me comes remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, etc. Renunciation, right? So he takes this post or position of a driver, right? So, for those of you who are coming from other parts of the world, you say, hey, driver, come. auto driver, bus driver, car driver come. It's not a great position, right? So here the God is taking the position of a chariot driver, right? And he takes the position of a doorkeeper, right? Like doorkeeper for Bali Maharaj. And he washed the feet of Narada Muni, Brahmana, Sudama Vipra, who went to Dwaraka, washed, actually massaged the feet of the Brahmin who brought this love letter from Rukmini, etc. Right? So he's the ultimate in the renunciation as well. So that's the third point. The fourth is Krishna as the ocean of rasas and mellows of loving exchanges, right? So rasa means taste or mellow. So if you remember the famous verse 7.8, Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, I am the taste of water. So for those of you who are in Scarborough and few other temples as well. So this was probably a few years ago when His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami came and he said, I want all of you to tell this 30 times, Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, I am the taste of water. So everybody memorize this. So that's good way to memorize verses repeatedly. So the entire universe is said to be this taste or mellow, and we are all floating in it, right? So what I did here is in this yellow background, you can see these are the 5 main rasas, and then you have 7 subordinate or other rasas, you can say, right? Neutrality, servitorship, fraternity, parenthood, conjugal, and conjugal is supposed to be the highest, but there are also this anger and wonder and comedy, etc. These are also other rasas. So, as long as we are able to connect ourselves to Krishna, then we will be able to go back home, back to Godhead. So if we are getting stuck in any of the others, like anger and horror and everything not connected to Krishna, then we are stuck in this material world. So Krishna himself is rasa and the taste of mellow or particular relationship, right? So we become anandi, that means filled with bliss, when we are connected to Krishna through one of these rasas. So fifth is Tadbinam Stamsa Jivam. So the living entities are separated infinitesimal parts of Krishna. So Krishna says in this very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So the living entities in his conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts, right? And this is a verse from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, because each one of the 4 Vedas have got multiple Upanishad. Upanishad means you can also, it's a conclusion, you can say. It's almost like Vedanta. So the conclusion of Upanishad, like nice summary of the whole Vedas. You have many Upanishads connected to each one of those Vedas. And here it says, just as sparks arise from fire, all jivas arise from Krishna. So beautiful verse, right? Just like sparks fly out from the main fire, all jivas arise from Krishna. And that aligns with 15.7, where Krishna is saying all living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmented parts. So this is a nice little summary of the total number of jivas that are there, right? Which we'll see in the next slide. But where it's starting is in the 11%, the light blue section, right? So the light blue section is, there are 11% of total number of different aquatics. It's not the total number of fishes. It's the total number of different varieties of aquatics are 11%. Then you have trees that are 24%, reptiles 13%, humans only 5%. So how fortunate we are, and we should be thankful that we are in this position. We are not a reptile, we are not a bird, we are not a beast, so that we are all here trying to understand the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can benefit from it. And then it goes down. The birds are 12%, and the bees are 35%. So majority of the living entities out of 8.4 million species of life are bees, and the least is human being, which is us. So again, a busy slide here. This is a verse from Padma Puran, just confirming the same. I just put it in an Excel spreadsheet and then brought it here, where Krishna appears in each one of these, as an aquatic. He appears as Matsya Avatar, plants and trees as Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, because it is from the tree. And then we also have insects, Vajrakita. For those of you who got Shaligram, the chakras that are there are done or created by the Vajrakita, which has got this diamond teeth, it is said, right? So reptiles, Kurma Avatar, Anantasesha, birds, Hamsa Avatar, Garuda, beasts are Hayagriva, Varaha Avatar, Narsimha Avatar, human beings, of course, in the form like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not human beings, but in the form of human beings. So That's the 8.4. So living entities are separated infinitesimal parts of Krishna. And the sixth one, again, there are a total of 10. So we are in the home stretch now, second half of it. So Prakriti Kavalitan. So here the conditions, living entities have been swallowed up by Krishna's illusory external energy. So here, this is a nice little verse from Prema Vivarta by Jagadananda Pandit, right? So as soon as one becomes inimical means unfriendly to Krishna. That means we are friendly to everyone else, and then we are not friendly to Krishna. That's one of the meanings. There are many meanings of inimical. And desire sense gratification, we are then immediately struck down by the illusory energy of the Lord, right? So now let's not get upset with Krishna. Oh, why is that Krishna has done that? This is the rule, okay? So that's the rule. So if somebody is speeding in 401, where you know the limit is say 100, and we are going at 140, 150, and we get caught to a police, we can't complain, or we can't find fault with Justin Trudeau, who's the prime minister, right? So that's the law of gravitation. So you drop something, it will fall down. That's the law. So the rule here is, as soon as one becomes inimical, unfriendly, then desire illegal or illicit sense gratification, then we are immediately struck down. And that's what is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Forgetting Krishna, what happens? All kinds of misery in this material existence will start. We will start attracting all kinds of misery. So that is what happens when conditioned living entities have been swallowed up by Krishna's external energy. So there are a few more points as well, but again, maybe we'll read the last one. So in order to maintain his so-called family and society, the fool, burning up with anxiety, laden with unfulfilled hopes, perform all kinds of sinful activities. This is from third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are some of the examples. I just took a couple from the web as well. So what you see on the left-hand side is, these little deer, 3 deers are there on the right-hand side. What you see on the left-hand side, by the way, if you didn't notice it yet, they are hunters trying to kill these deers, right? So they look like deer. They just got this, they look like deers, but then they're wearing all these things so that they can kill the deer, right? So that's the illegal activities, prohibited activities that one does. And we know the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, illicit relationship. And we're saying, no, I will not fall down. It's okay. I'm doing something illegal, but I have a justification, right? So the conditioned living entities have been swallowed up by Krishna's illusory external energy. And the 7th point here is tad vimuktam shabhavat. Some souls are released from the grasp of Krishna's illusory external energy. So this was one of the classes that we did not long ago in one of the temples. So I just took a couple of summary slides, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but Krishna is giving us many, many different opportunities to get released from this material world, to go back home, back to God. So analogy I can think of is, when we have a burning house, there are many doors and exits, right? Like in your work, you have this annual, I think it's called as fire drill, right? So they will take attendance when you go out, but then they will tell you, doesn't matter whichever door is there, that you can get out from the burning factory or office, get out, right? So that's the most important. If there is only one exit, which is 300 meters away, and there is a major fire, you can't get out, right? So Krishna is very merciful. He gives us multiple opportunities to get out of this material world, and that's number 7. So just by staying equipoised, okay, when we are going through the ups and downs of life, you go back home, back to God. That's a guarantee that Lord Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so I've not put the references here, but if time permits, one of these days we can do this with all the references, right? So I'm just going to pick some of them. Be friendly, have compassion towards all living entities. He mentions that twice in Bhagavad Gita. Then you are released from the grasp of illusory energy. One was escape the 3 gates, right? So which is lust, anger, and greed. You go back home, back to God. These are non-spiritual processes. These are general processes that will be applicable to somebody who says, I don't know Bhagavad Gita, I don't. But if they follow this strictly, Krishna has given this. This is not just for ISKCON devotees. Bhagavad Gita is given, right? Anybody with love and devotion, if they offer leaf, flower, fruit, or water, that will be accepted by Lord Krishna. So these are spiritual, non-spiritual activities. But then Krishna gives many spiritual activities that we are all used to to get released from this grasp of illusory energy, right? So read the scriptures, worship the Lord, become a devotee, offer Krishna with love and devotion. 9.26, 9.27, and 9.28, significant, right? Yat karoshi yadashnashi yat juhoshi dadasi. Just after Patram Pushpam verse, it says, whatever you do, offer it to me. As a reaction to, you don't have to think about Krishna and offer, you do your activity and then offer it to him. Still Krishna is merciful, he accepts. So follow the scriptural injunctions, etc. So quickly going to number 8, which is the Beda Beda, right? So this is the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. So we are, it's oneness and difference with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So this is simultaneously one and different. So here we are all parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. He is already explained that separated parts of Lord Krishna. So we are equal in quality, but there is a vast difference in quantity. So we are infinitesimal, but Lord is infinite. So the example that Srila Prabhupada gives us is that drop of ocean water compared to the water in ocean. So Krishna is the ocean, but just a drop of ocean water is still salty, right? So qualitatively we are same, but quantitatively no comparison. Spark of fire compared to a huge fire, sunshine was this big sun. So that's the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. And then we have 2 more points, which is the 9th one is pure devotional service to Krishna is the only means of attaining the goal of life. So this is the one that we are all fully involved in, or we try to make it better and better through initiations, going to the temple. This is the sum and substance of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. This is the whole idea of establishing ISKCON temple, is to get into this pure devotional service, 9 forms of devotional service. And that's the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So the pure devotional service, so you can see, what is the definition? So definition of pure devotional service is given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is nectar of devotion. So Anyabilasita sunyam jnana karma denavritam anukulyena krishnano silanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. This is called pure devotional service. So that's the definition. So definition of pure devotional service, because for some of you who are new, you'd be wondering every time they refer to devotional service, what is that? So that's the definition. And then it is said, only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one attain me. So this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Uddhava Gita, Lord Krishna is explaining this. And one can understand me as I am only by devotional service. So there's no other way. If we have to go to Krishna, we have to be spiritually inclined in our devotional activities. It's only through devotion we can do that. And that's what is defined here. And these are the 9 stages of devotional service, right? So this is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as well, but this might be too much for today's class. But you start with little faith, then with association of devotees, you follow the regulative principles, you stop the unwanted things, then you get into firm faith, then you have more hearing and chanting, much more than the bhajana kriya, then deep attachment, then ecstatic love, and pure love for Krishna. So I used this slide in this morning's presentation as well with another temple, but this is very important for us to have that bhakti and move through these stages of devotional service. Okay. And these are for today's class, this is important. So pure devotional service to Krishna is the only means. So what is this devotional service? So Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, chanting, Smaranam, remembering, Pada Sevanam, serving the Lord's feet, Archanam, worshipping the Lord, Vandanam, offering prayers to the Lord, Dasyam, becoming a servant to the Lord, Sakyam, considering to be the best friend, and Atma Nivedanam, completely surrendering to the Lord. I mean, as I said, each one of these bullet points we can spend many hours discussing, because it is said, Shravanam, okay, who attained perfection by Shravanam, hearing? It's Parikshit Maharaj. Who attained perfection by Kirtanam? Is Sukdev Goswami. Smaranam, like that, there is example for each one of them. But from our standpoint, whatever we can do to hear, like today, all of you are hearing what we are discussing from the scriptures, the essence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, etc. Okay, so the last point here is, this is prema, pure love of Krishna is alone the goal of life. So again, just to bring everybody's attention back, these are the 10 esoteric truths or the essence of teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this contains everything, and that is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So here I'm going to read this because it's important, because it's quoted by Srila Prabhupada very, very often. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is to be worshipped along with this transcendental abode Vrindavan. The most pleasing form of worship for the Lord is that performed by the gopis of Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless authority on everything, and pure love of Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for all. So again, that connects with the number 10th point that we are discussing here. So pure love of God is the ultimate goal of life. And of course, in various sections of Srimad Bhagavatam, it also says, ultimate goal of life is going back home, back to God. Right? So that's Prahlad Maharaj's prayers as well. But then when we are in this, pure love of God, which is our ultimate goal, then as a byproduct, somebody may get promoted to the spiritual world, but that's not our aim. So these statements which we have the highest regard are the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada quoted this many times, and that relates to this 10th point of this 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. This is the most significant verse. Many of you would have memorized this. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. So again, all of us are wandering according to our karma. Some of us go to the higher realms, some of us go to the lower realm, then come back to earth, etc. But very few will get an opportunity to meet a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. And by the grace of both Krishna and the spiritual master, we receive the seed of the creeper of devotional service. Again, we are focusing on point number 10, and I just put that in a small condensed form, right? So now that seed is given by the mercy of the spiritual master and Lord Krishna. So sow the seed in your heart, water through the process of hearing and chanting, put a fence around it to avoid the mad elephant offense, and remove any of the unwanted creepers. And then this bhakti creeper grows, penetrates through the layers of the universe, and reaches Vaikuntha or beyond that of Goloka Vrindavan, and produces the fruit of love for Krishna. So that's the pure love of Krishna, and the process is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his teachings to Rupa Goswami. So Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.178 states, by regularly rendering devotional service that all of you are doing, one gradually becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When that attachment is intensified, it becomes love of God, which is 10. So if you're wondering, okay, we went through this class for 1 hour, what is the sum and substance of it? Continue to do your devotional service, you get the 10th point directly. So this is the 10th point, which is, prema, pure love of Krishna, based on Madhya Lila 19.178. So in summary, this is the last slide that I have, which is the slide that we covered, just keeping an eye on the time. So we have a few more minutes. So these are the 10 points. These are the 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Just a recap given to us by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the 75th verse of Gauranga's Alila Smarana Mangala Stotram, which was part of the book that was sent in 1896, the birth year of Srila Prabhupada, to McGill University in Canada. We are Canadians, so we should have that attachment, and we should have this connection to this particular topic of 10 roots of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So the absolute truth can be known only through the Vedic scripture. And what do we get from the Vedic scripture? We know that Krishna is the supreme absolute Godhead, and then he possesses infinite potency and unlimited wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. And he's an ocean of bliss, and he is the super soul. Every soul is Krishna's separated part. And certain souls are swallowed up in this material world into all these illicit things, and then certain souls are released, as we saw in the 2 slides where Krishna is explaining how we can get out from this material world. And all spiritual and material worlds are simultaneously one and different. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. And devotional service to Krishna is the only means of attaining the goal of life. And the goal of life is pure love of Krishna, which is the eventual goal of life. So this is given to us by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Anand Gaurang Prabhu, for going over a marathon of a class within an hour. So I feel like there are so many parts in those 10 points which you could speak, on its own as a individual class. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for putting
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
a visual presentation together and making it easy for us to follow and understand. We'll now open it up for any questions or comments from our viewers from either on Facebook or on Zoom. You're welcome to post your comments, or you can raise your hand and I will try and unmute. Maybe we'll just take one or two questions in the interest of time. So if anyone is interested, please do raise your hand, or you can just post it on the chat and I'd be happy to take them up on behalf of you. So as we wait for questions or comments, Anand Gaurang Prabhu, as you mentioned, 17th is the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
yeah.
and Gaur Purnima. We have little less than 2 weeks. What should our mood of prayer be in the next little while? How should we prepare ourselves in celebrating this festival?
That's a great question. And the simple way, even though we touched on this class, which is esoteric and deeper, as the point number 9 said, devotional service is the only way. And within the devotional activities, the 9 forms of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pasayanam, Archanam, Mandaram, Dasim, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the one who has given us this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So Lord is unlimited. That means his names are unlimited. There are many names of the Lord, but he's given us specifically these 16 3 names that are arranged in a beautiful pattern, right? So this is from one of the Upanishad that he's given us this name, and it is said Kali Kale Namarupa Krishnavata Nama Ityaya Sarva Jagat Nishtar. So in this age of Kali, Lord Krishna appears in this form of his holy name. So the name is not different from the Lord. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was this whole mission to propagate this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra wherever he went. So the best mood of how we can perform devotional service is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted us to be in, which is with full faith and devotion, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That's the only potent weapon that we have in this Kali Yuga. If somebody's got any other weapon to take us through this dark age, we have problems everywhere, right? Like we can look around. We thought COVID is gone, and this war is started up, which is impacting everybody. So, I mean, we're all safe and sound by the mercy of the Lord. So we want to chant for others who are struggling as well. And definitely, as we have seen, when somebody is not having some health issues, when you chant, what happens? Of course, everything is by the will of the Lord, right? So we're not telling Lord, my dear Lord, change the destiny of this person. No, we are saying whatever is your will, let that happen. But then the connection is established between us and the Lord and that person who we are praying for. So for these unfortunate souls, we can pray with love and devotion so that the anxiety and the problems is way less than what they have to go through. Let's not get into any other part of karma or anything like that. What we have control, it's our dharma. Forget about any. So our dharma is to pray for others and also pray to the Lord with love and devotion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for us to chant, and it's very easy. It's not like the Vedic slokas that we have, which is very difficult with intonation, etc. It's very easy. Only Hare and Krishna and Rama. Hare is the vocative form of the Lord, energy of the Lord, Radharani, Srimati Radharani, and then Rama is the reservoir of all pleasures, and Krishna is all attractive feature of the Lord. And we say the potency of the Lord first, just like we say Radha Krishna, then we say Sita Rama, like that. We say Hare first, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please engage me in your devotional service. We don't chant this prayer and say I need a promotion, etc. Please engage me in your devotional service. So I think to answer your question, Prabhu, I think that's the only hope that we have is the the most powerful, potent mantra that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Lord Krishna himself, has given us. So we practice this chanting much more vigorously, more sincerely in the upcoming days leading up to 17th of March.
Thank you very much, Anand Prabhu. I think it's a perfect note to end our Sunday session. I don't see any questions. I'll just check on Facebook as well, just in case. Yeah, I don't see anything there either. But thank you so much, Anand Prabhu. I think that's a lot of information packaged in this class. So for everyone who joined in halfway through, the recording is available on Facebook. We would definitely encourage you to hear it just to get a perspective on 10 broad points or the essence, as Prabhu mentioned initially, on teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you once again, Anandaram Prabhu. Really
Thank you.
appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.